Hey YouTube, this is Cheese Factory, and this is going to be the budget deck profile for agents. They are one of the 5 that are really easy to do, because this is a list of all the cards in their structure deck. It's great, you get all the agents, Hyperion, Sanctuary in the Sky, you can get cards like Smashing Ground, Solemn Judgment, Torrential Tribute. It's a great structure deck actually. Marshmalon. And this deck profile I'm going to show you is a competitive deck. Not that's going to topple YCS or win a locals, but for your everyday player, it's pretty good, and it could do pretty well. So here is the deck. Boom. It is for the agents: 2 Earth, 2 Venus, 2 Jupiter, 3 Hyperion. You can't expect Digesto Phoenix, Wyvern, or Dark Mist, all that stuff. So Venus isn't as good. So only 2 Venus. Jupiter's great because when you're running a Sanctuary build, the second effect is great because you can just summon fairies. Just the double Shine Ball for the Gachi, because Gachi's not that expensive. I think this deck is like $25, $26 maybe, depending on how much you can get the structure deck for. If you get them on like eBay or Amazon, sometimes they're like only like $8, $9, especially for the older ones, so it's pretty good. The Hyperion, of course, is the big play. Earth searching Hyperion if you have Sanctuary active, and Hyperion just burn, popping every card on the field. Really good. So, Earths, Venus, Hyperions, Jupiters, Shine Balls, Marshmalons. I'm running a pair. It's good stall, and it's tribute fodder for Venus, Splendid Venus, and Athena. Athena is really good because every time a fairy monster is summoned, you burn 600, and once per turn you can tribute a fairy to summon a fairy from your grave. So if I have Athena and Shine Ball, I contribute the Shine Ball to summon a Hyperion or something. And burn 600 every time fairy summon, you can see how that might get kind of good. And then the 2 Venus, it's really good because it means that your spells and traps can't be negated, but also it turns all your fairies into like plus 500 attack monsters. It's pretty good. 2 Zeratius, Herald of Heaven. It's like a better terraforming because it can also fight. It's 21 to start with. 1 Hecatrice, just for, I'd rather have an extra Hecatrice than an extra Valhalla, just because Hecatrice is a monster and Valhalla isn't. 1 Honest, you get like 3 of those also, so you're going to get like some trade bait here. So you're going to get 3rd Earth you can trade, some extra of this stuff. That's one of the other great things about structure decks, is that if there's stuff you don't want, or if it's like a limited card, you'll have trade bait, so that's kind of nice. Triple Sanctuary, this is a big card in the deck, with 2 Jupiters and 3 Hyperions and 2 Earths. It's pretty helpful. It works out well. Double Valhalla lets you get into Hyperions, like you could like Valhalla of Venus, use its effect, summon Shine Balls, overlay, and then you could like Valhalla for a Venus, use effect to summon Shine Balls, and like tribute them for Athena or something. So pretty nice like that. Double Card from the Sky. This is a great card. Good draw power. Remove from play a light fairy in your hand to draw 2 cards. You can't special summon or conduct your battle phase. So you could like banish a Marshmalon from your hand, draw a pair, go into Earth, get a search off, stuff like that. Heavy Storm, Dark Hole Reborn, and a pair of Mysticals. So that's pretty much going to be in every deck that I show here. It's the Mysticals, the Reborn, Dark Hole, Heavy. The staples are cheap. You can get Reborn, Dark Hole, and Heavy Storm for like $3 to $5. So that's not that bad. And MSTs are super cheap, of course. Then Triple Divine Punishment. You're going to have this card on the field a lot, and this card is ridiculously good. It's, oh my gosh, it's basically destroy anything. It's like 4 Solemn Judgments, because you're running the 1 Judgment that comes. And then Double Torrentials and 1 Return from the Different Dimension. This card's also pretty good, because you banish with cards from the sky, you banish with Hyperions, you banish with Jupiter. A lot of banishing going on, and it's like an OTK card. And then the only extra deck card I'm showing is Gachi, because you don't need Leviathans and Catasters and all that crap to have a decent deck. Those are only what you need when you're trying to win a YCS or top of locals, something like that. You don't need a giant extra deck. For stuff you could add to this, the extra deck, filling that out is always good. If you could add like Card Troopers and Call the Haunted, or like Archlord Christia, those are all great cards to add. Or any traps, those are all fine. You can go ahead and throw in the third Shine Ball if you get the other Venus. Or, I mean, if you get the other extra deck stuff for Venus. If you can get a Gen X Ally Birdman, then there's a combo with Venus and Birdman that gives you Stardust and Gotchi if you have a Stardust too. Some interesting stuff like that you could think about. There's a lot of stuff you can go into, and then obviously you can talk to me, contact me on YouTube or whatever if you actually have like something where you're thinking, well, this is where I'm at. Where should I go from here? I'm always available. I'm also on Dual Network as Cheese Factory. Whoosh, right there. That's all for agents. So next I'm going to go alphabetical order. Next is Atlanteans. This is not Atlantean Mermails. This is just Atlanteans. And this was really hard to do because Atlanteans aren't a fantastic deck on their own. Some of their plays do need an extra deck, and some of their stuff is just really wants Mermails in it. Like the Atlanteans, they're just less good without Mermails. But Mermails are super expensive. So I think this deck's going to be more like 40, 45. Not less than 45, I think, but like $40 because of the few extra deck cards, but maybe 40 or less, depending on how much you can get the structure decks for. Yeah, so for the main deck, double Poseidra. This is like the play in your deck is using Poseidra and Call the Atlanteans for huge, big combos. 2 Dragoons instead of 3 because it doesn't have a lot of search targets. 2 Heavy Infantry because this card and Diva is a great combo for free Poseidra. Triple Atlantean Marksman. Of course, this card's amazing because of the summon ability. Especially this with Dragoons, this card keeps direct attacking. Oh, it's so good. Triple Diva, of course. Triple Abyss Soldier. This card's really good. Discard a water monster to Compulse. And all of these are water monsters that get triggered by it, so it's great. Double Penguin Soldier, just because Trolley. Double Snowman Eater, it's good. 1 Warrior of Atlantis. Searcher for a Legendary Ocean, and it's a 1900 beater. It's not that bad. And it's extra water monster if you have anything that needs a water monster. Double Lost Blue Breaker. This is another target for Call the Atlanteans, and it's also a target for Diva, so it's pretty good. Double a Legendary Ocean. This card is great with Dragoons, because if you activate this and summon Dragoons, it turns Dragoons himself into a level 3 monster that allows himself to attack directly. So that's always pretty helpful. 2 Call the Atlanteans, which is wonderful. It's a really, really good card. It completely sets up for Poseidra. 2 Moray of Greed. You're running 22 water monsters. This is a good card, like, first turn. It lets you thin your deck out by 1 because you get rid of Moray, and it's not that bad. So, like a 1-for-1 sometimes, but it's pretty good. It's like 3-for-3 overall. 2 Salvage. I was thinking about 3, but I don't know. The good thing about Salvage is Diva sets it up on its own. If you summon Diva and special anything with its effect, you now have set up for Salvage, which is nice. Double Surface. This is great for... It turns into an MST with Lost Blue Breaker, or you can use it for defense with Snowmanator, or set up for Poseidra, or you can use it to get Heavy Infantry, then use his effect to summon stuff. Surface is pretty good. 1 Foolish Burial. This does not come in the structure deck. You'd have to get this elsewhere, but it's pretty cheap, so I wouldn't worry too much. But this card is good because it can get you targets for Salvage, it can get you targets for Surface, and most of all, Poseidra's effect to summon itself is from hand or grave, so you can Foolish for Poseidra to get him into a place where you can activate, so that's pretty good. Heavy Storm's great, Darkhole's great, Reborn's great, of course. Again, these are ones you have to buy. Double Torrential, double Spiritual Water Art. Gosh, I hate this pronunciation. A-O-E. I don't know how to say it at once. It's like Awe, but it's kind of hard. Gotchi is, of course, good. Leviathan, Magical Android, and Gaia. That's one of the things about this deck, is you do need a bit of the extra deck for it to be really good. Diva gives you magical Android really easily. Android I picked because it's one of the cheapest of the level 5 synchros. I mean, Catastor is out of the question because it's like $25. It's ridiculously expensive, especially if you get like the DT, it's like 35, or the Ulti. It's ridiculous. Gaia is pretty cheap though. It's like 70 cents if you, according to this, but this isn't really accurate. But if you get a common Gaia, it's really cheap. Leviathan's not too bad if you get the common, and Kachi's just pretty cheap. So overall, this deck's like 40 to 45, depending on how much you get the structure decks for. So it's not so bad. For adding to the deck, you Gen X or Gen X Undyne and Gen X Controller are big pieces, and then after that, you want to start looking at Mermails and Mullen Glacier, which is a problem because they're really expensive, but that's what it's like right now for Atlanteans. Some of the cheaper stuff you can get cards like Dragon Ice, maybe if you can find some stuff to put in like that, but it's hard because these are so big in the meta right now that they're really expensive, so you kind of got to be careful with that. But it's not so bad, it's doable. So the next video I think is going to be, what is it, Dark Worlds and Chaos Dragons, I think. And then my third video will be 6 Samurai, I think. Yeah. So that's all for this video. This has been Budget Decks for Atlanteans and Agents. And this is Cheese Factory signing out.